The topic is heart, the pumping organ. Now, heart is the living pump of our body. It is located in the thoracic or the chest cavity, slightly towards the left side of the body. So, heart is a type of organ which allows to pump the blood to the body parts. It is located in the chest cavity or the thoracic cavity where the lungs, the rib cage, and the heart are located. Now it is of the size of a fist and shaped like comma. Its walls are formed of cardiac muscles. These muscles contract and relax tirelessly throughout life. Because of cardiac muscles, heart beats continuously and pumps blood into the arteries. So cardiac muscles helps to contract and relax continuously, and they help the heart to pump the blood into the blood vessels. Now let us read about the structure of heart. Human heart has four chambers. The upper two chambers are right and left auricles. Auricles are also known as atrium. So we can say right and left atrium, and lower two chambers which are right and left ventricles. Now let us understand by a diagram. For example, this is the human heart. So upper two chambers, they consist of right atrium and left atrium. The lower two chambers, they consist of right ventricle, and the lower chamber consists of the left ventricle. So there are four chambers. We can see in this figure also, which shows the right auricle or the right atrium, right ventricle, left auricle or the left atrium or the left ventricle. Now a muscular wall separates the left side of the heart from its right side. So there is a muscular wall which is present between the right and the left side that helps to divide both the sides. So the blood cannot go from one auricle to another and from one ventricle to another. So this muscular wall, it helps to prevent the mixing of the blood, and the blood does not go from one auricle to another or from one ventricle to another. Now there are four valves which are present in the heart. They open and close about 1 lakh times a day. The blood from the auricles flows through the cuspid valves to the ventricle. Since the blood that comes to the atrium, it goes to the ventricle. So this flow of blood to the ventricle, it is guarded by the presence of valves. The valve which is present between the right auricle and the right ventricle is called tricuspid valve. Now we can see the right auricle which is shown here and the right ventricle which is shown here. So the flow of blood is guarded by the presence of valve which is present here, that is tricuspid valve. The valve which is present between the left auricle and left ventricle is called bicuspid valve. So we can see the left auricle or the left atrium and the left ventricle. So when the blood it comes from the left auricle to left ventricle, it is guarded by the presence of this valve which is known as bicuspid valve. There are three half moon shaped valves which are known as semilunar valves, and they are between the opening of right ventricle and pulmonary aorta and the left ventricle and aorta. So when the blood it reaches the right ventricle, it goes to the pulmonary artery which is present here, and this pulmonary artery it takes the blood to the lungs, so it carries the deoxygenated blood. So the valve which is present between the right ventricle and pulmonary artery, this valve it is known as semilunar valves, and when the blood it reaches the left ventricle, it goes to the aorta which is the largest artery in our body, and aorta helps to transfer the oxygenated blood from the heart to other parts of the body. So the opening between the left ventricle and aorta it is guarded by again a semilunar valve. So the function of valves is that valves prevent backflow of the blood. So these valves which are present between the atrium and the ventricle, this prevents the backflow of the blood. Now let us read about the auricles or atria. Now auricles are the receiving chambers of heart. They have thin walls. The right auricle receives deoxygenated blood from the whole body, while the left auricle it receives oxygenated blood from the lungs. So we can see the structure of heart. We can see that here right auricle is shown, which is the right atrium, and left auricle shown, which is the left atrium. Now, right auricle receives the deoxygenated blood from whole body, which is being carried by two veins. First is superior vena cava. It brings deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body. And second vein is inferior vena cava, which is bringing the deoxygenated blood from the lower part of the body. Now these two veins, they bring the deoxygenated blood to the right auricle. So deoxygenated blood from right auricle, it goes into the right ventricle, and from the right ventricle it goes to the lungs through the pulmonary artery or the pulmonary aorta. Now from the lungs the blood gets oxygenated, and the left auricle, which is shown here, this receives the oxygenated blood from the lungs. So both the auricles, they act as the receiving chambers. Now let us read about ventricles. Ventricles are the distributing chambers of the body. They pump blood into the blood vessels. So ventricles are known as the distributing chambers as they pump blood into the blood vessels. Their walls are thicker than those of auricles. The walls of the ventricle are thick because the ventricles have the function to pump the blood into the blood vessels. The right ventricle receives the deoxygenated blood from the right auricle and pumps it to the lungs for purification or oxygenation. The left ventricle is the largest heart chamber and has the thickest wall, as left ventricle has the function to pump the oxygenated blood to the aorta. It receives oxygenated blood from the left auricle and pumps it to the whole body. That is why it has thick walls, because it has to pump the blood to the whole body. So we can see in this figure, so the oxygenated blood from the lungs, it comes from the pulmonary veins to the left auricle, which is shown here, and the oxygenated blood from the left auricle, it will reach to the left ventricle, and this left ventricle has thick walls and it has to pump the blood to the largest artery, which is shown here, that is known as aorta. So aorta helps to pump the oxygenated blood to the various part of body.